Everybody, Josh Searton, World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and the old ghoul himself has opened up his old decrepit mouth again. George Soros has said at Davos that he wants to see regulations, more stringent regulations on things like Facebook and Google, etc. It's not like we haven't seen enough of that, but going into the article from, I know, BuzzFeed. Let's get through this, guys. We'll elaborate. Anyway, so as he said, and I quote to BuzzFeed, they, meaning Facebook and Google, claim they are merely distributing information, but the fact that they are near monopoly distributors makes them public utilities and should subject them to more stringent regulations aimed at preserving competition, innovation, and fair and open universal access. So there's so many things wrong with what he just said here, but first of all...
Regulation and competition, first of all.
First of all, I just want to kind of go into the fact that he said they're public utilities. Yeah, well, sure, that's something that I've actually been talking about for a while, is that there is a huge amount of taxpayer funding that goes on, billions of dollars going into Facebook and Google, etc., which does make them a monopoly on information, which is exactly why there shouldn't be any more government regulations or involvement at all, period. This is ridiculous.
Communist, so that's why he wants it, right?
Well, and just looking into this a bit further, he says that there needs to be more stringent regulations. Well, this is exactly why people are decentralizing. Look, I've gone through this before. They went from the telegraph to the telephone with an operator, decentralizing. Then they went from the operator to a telephone without an operating, decentralizing. Then they went from William Randolph Hearst newspapers to television and radio, decentralizing. Then they went from television and radio to the internet, decentralizing, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc. And now they're going to Steemit.com and DTube, etc., because they are decentralizing. The future is always intrinsically decentralized because free individuals always pick the free route eventually, whether they mean to or not. Even socialists are, born free, and then they believe that they are signed onto some social contract that they never signed and should enforce the will of the majority on the minority. But anyway, this is so ridiculous, John. The idea of competition, preserving competition and innovation, and being fair, the government enforcing their will on people is not fair. And regulation to create preserve competition and innovation is absurd, because the more you regulate, the more monopolistic something becomes, the more you push out the small guys that are trying to compete in the market against them, which cuts out production, which cuts down employment, which cuts down wages, which cuts down all of the above. Any innovation in the market is squashed. This is what we've seen in healthcare, etc. John, what do you think?
Well, what we're seeing here is the government wants a monopoly on it instead of the actual Facebook and YouTube having their shadow governments, basically, where they can set their own rules, get rid of the people that they don't like.
But I mean, they're an operation of the government in the end anyway.
Oh yeah, of course they are, and that's what we're seeing here. They just want to be George Soros wants full control because he's a control freak. He wants everything to be under one centralized control. He always wanted that. He has all of his tentacles all around the world, and these little organizations pushing propaganda around the world. And of course, he's actually one of the people that have been using Facebook and Google to spread fake rumors and so on.
Exposed time and time again. And let's remember, he went to the United Nations, I believe, 2 years ago in order to push for regulations in the favor of the Open Society Foundation, his globalist behemoth that funds violent rebellions and riots. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And of course...
Oh, and we were called white supremacists when we went down to Montana, Josh. Remember that? One of the Open Society Foundation's sub-organizations were coming out and calling us a white supremacist.
Yeah, we're talking about economics. Yeah. We're talking about economics, and there's people of all different colors and races and religions, etc. there. But apparently we're white supremacists for, talking about free markets, because that has something to do with race for some reason. And actually, there was a group that wanted to come protest there because a friend of ours wrote a book about the public school system, indoctrination camps, and talked about how it's very reminiscent of the Nazi public school indoctrination camps that we saw under Hitler. And there's an image of a swastika in his book, but he was speaking out against Nazis, but all these idiot, small-minded people saw was a swastika, so they called him a Nazi and wanted to protest him as a Nazi. I mean, this is...
You gotta love Howard. He is really somebody that really provokes the mind with that, because it's so true, though, like how it's very similar to how everything is put forward in the current system. Governments are the same, no matter what form or shape they come in. If they're fascist or communist, they use the same utility capabilities in order to enslave the populace, and that's what we're seeing now. They want full control over these social medias because they've seen how out of hand it's gotten with this fake news all around the world, and now they're exactly. So that's what it's all about here. They're trying to come and shut us up even more. They've been very desperate. They come up with so many measures, demonetizing us, coming after us on any form or front they can. But of course, the free market just comes up with solutions, and they lose over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. They lose every single time. They just push more people into decentralization, which is why Steemit and DTube are around. And, YouTube and Facebook are desperately scratching at the, surface, trying to get into what Steemit and DTube's doing, but at a very centralized level, but attempting to push the crypto verse into their platforms as well. It's not going to work. People are not that stupid. There is a large amount of ignorance in the markets, of course, like there would be anywhere, but it all comes down to what's intrinsically there in your brain. When you are born, you are free, and the government takes it away from you. They can't give it to you. They can only take it away from you. And that comes down to individuals standing up for their freedoms. And when we talk about Facebook, I mean, I keep getting banned from sharing my own videos in my own World Alternative Media Facebook group, which is where people sign up to see my videos. It's absolutely ridiculous. I keep saying it's spamming, and then we've been demonetized by YouTube, etc., as hate speech. I mean, this is where we're at. I make the money on the monetization on YouTube that I did. At this rate, I'm making the same amount that I did when I had less than 5% of the viewers on YouTube. That just goes to show how much we are being suppressed. And YouTube recently just cut off all monetization for people under 1,000 subscribers, also stopping them from making their own custom thumbnails, which is very important to marketing. They're doing everything they can because they are afraid of the new behemoths to come, which is the free, independent, open medias that will come out of the shadows and call out, shoo the snakes out of the den. And they are worried, they are concerned, and they are trying to do everything to stop us.
Yeah, well, they talk about how Soros is constantly attacked by the right wing. I think it's just utterly bullshit. What you got to understand with Soros, you got to not see what he's saying. Again, what is that? He never walks his talk, right?
Cui bono? Who benefits?
Yeah, who benefits? So it's all about Soros is saying one thing and then he's doing a completely different thing over here. So never trust like Soros. I don't know why the left is presenting him as such a great person when he's really everything they are fighting against.
Yeah. Well, let's remember that the internet was basically created as like a surveillance mechanism. Facebook was created basically as a surveillance mechanism, or at least it maybe not to start, but it was when it started to get popular at Harvard all those years ago, and then YouTube too, and the facial recognition with things like Snapchat, etc. It's all part of an agenda. Come on, folks, it's all part of an agenda. There's a technocratic future on our doorstep, basically, that's been pushed forward, especially since the 1970s under Zbigniew Brzezinski at the Trilateral Commission and the bringing in of China and to the U.S., the trade deals, etc. under Kissinger. It's all been part of a big elaborate plan. It's right there, right in front of us now, and we need to realize that, look, perhaps the things and mechanisms that they created in order to try and destroy our free will might actually work in the exact opposite direction and fight back against those that are trying to suppress our free will.
Well, that's what it did. Like, it really was working for them for a while, and then of course people like us come out there with videos waking up people, and then it works completely against what they wanted. So then that's why they're so desperate to regulate and stop us.
Well, look at these idiots. We're on the same platform still. The only thing is they just can't delete us yet because they know that it will not benefit them well, because they will have riots on their doorstep the second they start just deleting every single YouTube account that has anything different to say than the official establishment point of view, which is, anything right of Mao Zedong and the idea that everything we say is hate speech. It's absolutely ridiculous. We need to fight back, folks, and that's why those decentralized applications are there. So Steemit, DTube, check it out, folks. We need to get as many people on there as possible because Facebook is freaking out about it. YouTube's freaking out about it. It's probably a good reason why you should check that out too. Let's make Facebook the new MySpace. Let's make YouTube the new Yashi. Anyone remember Yashi? That was a live streaming video website before YouTube. Have you seen it recently? You can't even, when you look it up, it says it never existed. But I put my videos on there before YouTube existed. It did exist. It's forgotten because they didn't keep up with the market. And the market's always right. The free market's always right, folks. So let's get down to that personal responsibility aspect of freedom itself, which is a hallmark of freedom. We need to push forward towards these decentralized applications as the market always goes towards.
Yeah, support the free market and support freedom, right? That's all what it's all about. It's all about getting that word out and finally changing things from these centralized grid controls apparatuses that have been created through YouTube, Google, Facebook, and all these other ones. It's time to make the move. The world is decentralizing, and no matter if these guys want it or not, it's going to happen.
Yeah. And George Soros will be gnashing his teeth for eternity in hell soon. So anyway, we don't have to worry about him too much longer. Thanks for going into this with us, John. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Don't like Soros.
Like what you see here at WHAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overwhelmingly demonetized and censored by YouTube as the Anti-Defamation League comes in and flags all of our content as hate speech. You can also find me at Josh Sigurdson at Steemit.com. That's Steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post via Steem, the cryptocurrency. You can also find our Bitcoin address in the description and the comments below, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And don't forget to come on down to Anarchapulco in Acapulco, Mexico in February, one of the best events of the year, and you can save money on your tickets by typing in promo code WHAM. That's WAM. We'll leave the link below for you, and until next time, don't forget to subscribe. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.